Amalgam is a podcast showcasing creatives and entrepreneurs and focuses on where they came from, what they're working on now, and what their plans are for the future. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes. Either search Amalgam Podcast or visit amalgampodcast.com for direct links. That's Amalgam, AMALGAM. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Amalgam Podcast and be sure to turn on notifications. This is how we'll update you for giveaways, news, and episode launches. If you are interested in sponsoring or supporting the show, visit our Patreon page, or you can get in touch with us directly. All information and links can be found on our website. Finally, if you or someone you know could be a potential guest, be sure to get in touch with us. This is the first of what I hope to be many episodes. Danny Moffat is a musician and an audio engineer, and I chose him for my first guest because he helped me figure out how to even produce this podcast. He is currently based out of New York, and we recorded our podcast episode over a FaceTime call. Please enjoy this first episode, and be sure to subscribe and follow. Thank you. Danny, how you doing, bud?
Doing good, Corbin. Great to hear from you, man. Happy to be here.
Appreciate you so much helping me with this. Danny and I have been going back and forth for a few weeks now, and I've been picking his brain. And the reason why is Danny, he's a musician and he's an audio engineer, and so I had quite a few questions about that and what I need to do if I was trying to pull off a podcast. So
and here we are. You've pulled it off in 3 weeks, no less. That's record time.
Yeah. Well, there's the idea was long before that, but it doesn't get real until you start moving forward and telling people and asking people to help you out or become a guest. Yeah, but your band, Internal State. I was listening to the album last night, and the album is called Creepy. So listen to Bandcamp, is that right? That's where you can find it?
Yeah, that's right, Bandcamp.
Internal.
And we got some videos on YouTube as well.
Internal State is the name?
Yeah, that's right. Internal State. Yep. So it's kind of a double thing. It can be internal mindset, but it also can be, like the internal state of just being in a scene. And the kind of what that means and this how things breed out of a scene and a music scene. And I felt like that this band very much was a part of the Portland music scene at the time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of double meanings and adding those layers to get your audience or whoever you're engaging to really kind of think just what are they really trying to say here, and what's the direction, and maybe sometimes having multiple directions is the point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's my favorite kind of lyrics as well. People can put their own meanings on things, or whenever text or art can be slightly ambiguous, where people can see different meanings and layers. I feel like that's the most rich kind of art out there, and music as well.
One of my art history courses was, you look at the symbolism in art, and we were going through a particular period, and just every single item on the painting was, it might have had 2 or 3 different meanings depending on a variety of things. So it's it's incredible.
Totally. I think it can be profound at times, and also with lyrics and such. I don't really care so much for music that tries to direct me into a certain way of thinking, or political or just social issues. I don't, not that I'm a political person. I feel like I'm pretty socially aware, socially conscious person. Always try and push myself to be more aware. When it comes to music, though, I just find like, I think it's more interesting to hear about somebody's truth, somebody's interpretation of their life and their art. And, I like the abstract sometimes in lyrics. The bands like Nirvana or the Pixies, definitely influenced by that kind of lyric writing structure where it can be just so, you don't know quite what they're talking about, but you also kind of do.
Right.
and then it kind of just blends with the sounds into making something super unique.
Oh, absolutely, 100% unique, and the connections there, despite the mystery of the lyrics, with the audience, it's incredible. What real quick, one of the songs I really liked was the last one, actually, Penny Strikes Again, and if you will, can I get a little background on that song and maybe the precursor earlier in the album? There's a track called Penny. Maybe just give me a little idea of what you were trying to accomplish there, writing that last track.
So yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I'm glad you liked it. Um, so there's this song Penny uh, that I've been kicking around for several years now, and I was talking with a friend a long time ago. Somebody from CHOM, actually our old school. He was saying that he was really into taking a song and making it into different genres. And so the song Penny has gone through 3 or 4 different versions, at least. Penny and Penny Strikes Again are 2 versions of the same song. And it's more just a creative workshopping just for, the fun of it.
Absolutely.
And so I made 2 versions of the same song. The first one, Penny, and that one is a bit more direct. It's inspired by a breakup in the past. And that one, the one that's just Penny on the album is that one's more power pop, punkish. Our more successful video, it's on YouTube. I did a mashup of a claymation video for that one, and then for Penny Strikes Again, that is a more acoustic solo venture, and really just got into focusing more on the voice and the kind of have the instrumentation just kind of dress around the voice.
Interesting.
And I'm glad that I put it at the end of the album, because that's the direction I'm moving into in this album. So it's like I feel like it's a good transition into what I'm doing coming up next.
Awesome. I want to get to how you got where you are, part of the structure of this podcast. For those that are listening, as I'm trying to structure it with the guest, for where do they come from? How do they, their education or their influence and inspirations to their present time? What are they working on now? What's their current day-to-day, and then what's the plans and goals for the future? So right now, let's go to college. Why don't you talk about where you went to school and how that broke down for you?
For sure. Yeah. So I went to college in a small town in Southern Oregon called Ashland at Southern Oregon University. And as far as my music went, I studied classical guitar there for 4 years, and I played. I started playing music in the dorms. Actually, I started a band, or it was more informal starting out with, but with the guy that was the head of the dorms.
Oh, like your RA or something like that?
Well, he was like the director of the RAs.
Oh, okay.
So he was a bit older. He was in his early 30s, and he had come from Alabama, where he had kind of changed from being a metalhead into a full-on bluegrass guy.
Wow. That's a transition.
Yeah, you think, but there's a lot of crossover, which helped his transition to go from like guitar to mandolin and lap steel. So we did like bluegrass band and acoustic, or bluegrassified band of acoustic covers and my originals in the dorms, and then played out a little bit. He moved away, got a job at another university, and I went on to busking, playing on the sidewalks. And I had a pretty regular thing doing that. And there's a lot of tourists in that town because there's a huge Shakespeare festival, and the town quadruples in size.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's it's people with some dough there to have a good time, see the Shakespeare shows. So
yeah, you gotta have some culture to go to a Shakespeare festival, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, man. So I played on the streets for, I wasn't living on the streets or anything,
Right. No.
but I just started a part-time job social working, so I was doing both at the same time, playing on sidewalks. And one day I was gonna go play on the sidewalk, and I was sending a gift to my dad for Father's Day at the post office, but the post office didn't have a pen for some reason. So I had to go to the next door place and ask for a pen, and I had this, guitar in my backpack, and I'd explained to them my situation, which is totally ridiculous. So I go to this hair salon, this kind of fancy pants hair salon. People are getting their hair done, things like that. I don't know anybody here. And to my surprise, like the people in the hair salon were so chill and so cool and really friendly. And they asked me to play some songs
Oh wow.
for the people, yeah, people getting manicures and hair things like that. And I demurred. I was like, yeah, nah, I got shy and I didn't want to do it. And I left. And then 10 minutes later, I changed my mind. I was like, you know what?
There you go. Good for you.
Why not?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta, you gotta, sometimes that stuff turns out better than you expect.
yeah, yeah. So scary, but I did it, and I'm glad I did because somebody getting their hair taken care of
Oh,
gave me a gig at her restaurant, and it became a thing, a really well-paying thing, and kind of launched me in that scene. Played a lot of art galleries and things,
that's
Southern
so
Oregon.
cool.
From that, and I've just built up a set, and I just, it's good encouragement just to keep the music alive, keep things going, and get some approval. It's not totally necessary, but it's definitely nice.
Well, I mean, any experiences, you never know where you're gonna find that. I mean, I'm assuming it was a gal getting her hair done, and then she gives you gigs.
Yeah,
You don't change your mind in that 10 minutes, and you never know. So that's part of it, is just jumping out of your comfort zone a little bit. And so, what did you think you were gonna do? Going into college, I know you started out with social worker as a social worker, and so that was the initial career plan. How did that transition happen?
Oh, well, I was doing social work in Portland, Oregon, Seattle and Portland for the last 4 years before I moved here to New York City last year. I decided to make the move to freelance audio engineer and musician when I moved to New York City. Not for lack of opportunity, because I did have some things lined up, but I changed my mind and decided to do this thing that I've always done on the side. I really wanted to hone my craft and make a good run at it since I was in New York, and there's such a huge entertainment industry here. I figure if I'm ever going to try it, I don't know how long I'm going to be here in New York, but if I'm ever going to try it, I want to try it here. So I enrolled in a audio engineering school, actually, called SAE School of Audio Engineering. It's a 9-month diploma program. It was great. I got to use the labs all the time, and just
Wow.
I recorded everybody I could, like at every opportunity. I had the place booked out.
I'm assuming that's all after hours and stuff, and you're booking all that out and spending all that time, and then what happens after you record raw audio?
Yeah, so recording there's the engineering, and then you've got to edit all the bad takes. You've got to edit all the mouth noises. You've got to edit all the bad guitar notes, the bum notes, things like that. And then you've got to mix the levels, EQ, and then you've got to master everything, and then that's up. I got so many musicians, and I did it all for free just to get practice at the school, and I did this through contacts with a great group called Women in Music, which is in LA, it's in New York, things like that. It's a Google kind of network where you just email the group, and then people, it's just open, and then you say, hey, I need somebody to record this day, and then it goes out to a couple thousand people, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm a musician, book me.
Dang.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a great way to get my chops. So I started doing some more paid sessions after that with a place called BMJ Studios. which is in Long Island City, and so that's my main place these days.
And you do a lot of audiobooks, right? There, I mean, I'm sure you have a variety of projects, but
Yeah, and that's what brings in the money these days is post production, and that's the most steady gig. Podcasts and audiobooks are the main things, and yeah, I mean those are the two biggest industries in the music in the audio world these days. Music's kind of it's more for the soul. Sometimes I get lucky and something will work out, but I don't base my rent check on it,
yeah, that's
so to
a
speak.
that's your escape, your space to kind of, there's
Yeah,
not a lot of creative freedom in freelancing, so that's where
right.
you get to escape. So you mentioned podcasting and audiobooks. That's big in the audio engineering industry, is what you're saying?
Yeah, they're the two biggest growing fields, and they're the ever since Amazon and Audible,
Mm-hmm.
podcasts have really taken off in the last few years too. I think podcasting was kind of it was kind of a fringe thing, and it's really come up quick. Audiobooks have been more around since people have been recording audio,
Yeah,
really.
they used to sell that on CDs and tapes, I'm sure. I mean,
Oh yeah, I mean I used
if
to like
anybody listening even,
yeah, right. I mean, yeah, every one in every 10 units of like music now that's sold, like 9 out of 10 are CDs still, but 1 out of 10 is now vinyl.
yeah, oh, yeah,
And then so cassettes have come back too a little bit.
interesting.
Yeah, so maybe who knows? Maybe there's going to be a CD resurgence in
Yeah, well, was it
10 or
the
20
thing with,
years.
yeah, yeah, I mean, the CDs, my dad was telling me that CDs, they record that at pretty close to studio quality, right? I mean, you'd be the one to correct me on this, but isn't a CD pretty decent rendition of what they're doing in the studio, whereas the tape's gonna lose some of that quality?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, cassette tapes have a roll off of frequency at the top end at about 8,000 hertz. So we can hear between zero, well, not zero, but we can hear between average human ear can hear between 40 and 20,000 hertz as far as the audio spectrum goes, and cassettes are really limited. So after 8,000, so less than half of what we can hear, there starts to be some decay. And so that's why cassettes sound, not so bright when you listen to them.
Yep. Vinyl isn't it still one of the highest quality of audio signal you can get, even though it's analog?
It is smooth. It's smooth sound, and there's no guesswork. With CDs, you're working with numbers. You're working with
Mm.
code, so the
It's-
laser is sometimes has to guess the number is because not everything's connected. It's 24 bits a second, 24 bits of information a second on a CD. It's with 48's better, and we're up to that now. I don't know if there's much of a difference that I can really tell, but I'd prefer to hear a CD over a vinyl record still, but that's not necessarily like my favorite, the be all and end all of the music experience. I think I still like to hold a record. I think I still like the ritual of putting on a needle,
Yeah.
and just hearing that crackle and hiss.
Well, and hearing an
Just yeah.
album as intended, as ordered by the musicians and the band or the artist, they selected the order of the tracks. They wanted the audience to hear this first, this in the middle, and this last, and part of that might be the story that's told throughout the album. So
Yeah, yeah, right, totally, man. Like with Spotify, it's all the shuffle play. We're in the shuffle play age,
yeah, and it's
kind
bad.
of
It kind of
things.
makes you like I'm dying, dude. I like I use their Discover or their like weekly suggestions all the time
Mm.
because man, if I listen to the music that I mean, I feel like I've been listening to the same songs for like 8 straight years. I mean, and it's just bad. I need to switch it up. But
Yeah, that's great though. I mean, like that you're using that system. There's, Spotify is huge, 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 and very influential. I know a band that got discovered off of Spotify too. So they're a force for good, even though they take 80% of the royalties from plays. just for themselves, which doesn't leave much for the musician, let alone the audio engineer. But that's another discussion. Spotify is breaking artists though through those kind of like new music playlists that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
it's, and I don't know what the technology or the algorithm or what's behind what they're suggesting me, but they have exposed me to some new stuff. I mean, I was listening to some like 80s country, some old Hank Williams Jr., and I'm just loving it. And I would have never, ever in a million years found that by myself, you know? So,
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then there's the other playlist that people make on their own too. Yeah, for the new music, it's I think it's like anything like DJs, it's word of mouth. You know, somebody can say, you know, in the industry or know somebody at Spotify can say, hey, I know this band, and I've heard of bands breaking from that. People just suggesting to people that control things at Spotify to put them on the new music playlists, and then people discover it from that way too. Like
that's
just
awesome.
it's the new DJ, really.
The one thing I've noticed they've gotten better at, because I've been using Spotify since they let us have it in the States. I couldn't wait to
Hmm.
get my hands on it.
Oh, you're early adopter.
Oh
Nice.
yeah, so like they didn't even have like the, for example, the Red Hot Chili Peppers still weren't on there, or like No Way or the Beatles even remotely. I don't even think the Beatles were in Apple or anything yet.
Yeah, that was a big moment when they finally went on. That
Yeah,
was
and a big marketing moment for sure. But it's like, man, who
yeah.
hasn't heard the Beatles already? But
That's so true.
they're working and they're improving things. And if you're saying that artists are being discovered on it and it's a platform for that, then it's everything's going to be a double-edged sword. So hopefully the
Yeah.
royalties thing can evolve like everything else. But I mean, everything's changing so much. The video and the music distribution methods are just, we're seeing so much go on, and so many old models that have been there for decades just kind of get toppled a little bit. And
Yeah, let's look at the music video. For one, that used to be so important to have a music video to like a high glossy, expensive music video to break a band, or
for
to
sure.
have something on rotation at MTV or VH1 or things like that. And now that those stations don't really exist on basic cable anymore, uh,
Yeah, that's true.
it's and it's but that was people thought that was the end of the world at the time too, because it put more emphasis on image over sound. So I think that there's always going to be something that's some new change that's going to freak people out, and then things will correct. I do like that the focus is now more back on the music, and there's still avenues for people to make money. It's just different. Syncing songs in commercials and TV and movies has really taken off now.
What is that? What's that mean? And
Oh,
it's
like
probably
getting
something very simple.
get yeah, oh yeah, it's just a jargon term, syncing. But getting a song placed in like a show, if The Bachelor or something plays Amalgam song, or one of my songs, an internal state song, then
Right,
that will be royalties right there.
right. Kind of brings us into the next thing, what your goals for the future are. But
I'm taking a break from being the lead guitarist, hired gun kind of thing, and focusing more on internal state again. Come up with tunes for that. So internal state began back in Portland a few years ago, and released an album last year, and played a lot of shows. So now I'm working on the album while I'm also trying to hustle and be a freelance audio engineer, which which is the first thing I gotta do, right?
you gotta pay the bills.
Yeah. And
Um,
New York's a very expensive place, man. It's a great place for opportunities. I can't think of a better place for opportunities. And I think if you're an actor or a musician, you've got to get here, or anything in entertainment or LA. Everything's just a little bit harder and more expensive.
mm,
Uh, if you're, in bands in smaller towns, like you can drive somewhere with your gear and rehearse at a friend's basement, and then just go play shows, whatever. But here you have to think about the whole everything from leaving the house. Okay, it's all subways. You've got to take your gear on a subway. You've got to pay for the rehearsal space, and the temperature in the apartments East Coast, man. Like it is so dry living spaces here that it fries all my gear. So I have to have
Oh,
humidifiers in all my guitars.
dude,
Otherwise, the wood will crack.
dang.
And it's not just me.
It's just part of it, right?
This is part of the New York City apartment life. You know, the buildings have to turn on the heat because it gets 0 degrees,
Yeah,
and
pipes will
when you
pipes will freeze.
yeah, yeah, right?
So
You gotta
it's an expedition essentially every time.
yeah,
It's
yeah, but
like when I try and pack my kids up and we're gonna go drive to Boise. It's essentially the same thing, but you're going like 10 miles.
yeah, yeah, you're crossing state lines, but I'm going like a mile.
I mean, props to everybody who does it. I admire everybody who goes out to New York and makes it happen and grinds out what they're trying to do.
Yeah, just from what I've seen from bands I've been in here and from peers, it's the magazines are here, the blogs are here, the websites are here, the publishers are here, the labels are here, and just being able to be around that and meet people, it's I think really 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 important. I mean, people have made a living outside of these cities, of course, and still can. And because of the internet, it's easier to get your music around and be discovered. But I think it still helps to be in proximity to the cogs of the machine that is the music industry and the television and film industry.
Right, and now it's all blending beyond recognition. Now it's just one giant animal.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all one big beast.
What are your goals over the next few years? You say you're working on a new album. What else are you gonna try and accomplish?
Yeah. So the last album, Creepy, which you can hear on Bandcamp, is decidedly harder rock sounding, and the next album's going to be acoustic, which is kind of getting back to what I first did when I picked up guitar and what I did in college in Ashland. Not bluegrass, but more singer songwriter, and that's what the newest single out you can hear called "Subtle with a Joke" is coming off of. The next album is going to be "The Collect Pond," and the Collect Pond is a pond, freshwater pond that was in Manhattan, where people used to get their fresh water from in before 1850. So
That's
that's
cool.
what, yeah. So it's kind of like getting back to the roots of where I was, why I picked up the guitar. It's kind of thinking about what are the roots of Manhattan since I'm here. So it seemed like an apt title.
Nice, I love it. I love the way you select your titles, man.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So I'm recording this, producing it myself in my apartment and in studios around town. So yeah, I'm doing this more kind of like on my own. This next album on my own, and it'll come out by the summer, and I'll be playing around town and touring it to support it,
That's
and
awesome.
probably popping out a few videos.
When you shoot a music video, how long does that normally take? Is it an all-day thing, or do you shoot for a couple of days? Or
Well, for the video we did for Sweet Thing, which has got some really cool shots
oh yeah, I
of
love that video.
Portland. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we got on top of a hospital by befriending a janitor, and when we were shooting around the building, and he took us on top of OHSU Hospital, and we got some great skylines things going on, and that was a day. That was one day, and then we did another day. A bar let me use the space for a day as well, which was really appreciated. So that was 2 days, and then we did a third day at my friend's house where I had some friends pour like desserts and sweets on me, and then we did it all in reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played it back, and I'm playing a guitar while desserts and sweets are being poured on me.
Yeah.
And then, and this isn't like some like, I'm wearing clothes, and this isn't like
Yeah. You're not just sitting
this
in a
isn't,
bathtub.
no, yeah, yeah, no. I'm wearing like a polar fleece, and playing electric guitar and getting covered in
Yeah.
like $80 worth of Costco crap.
Yeah.
And
Fruity Pebbles. With
yeah, pretty pebbles. Yeah, and it was so much fun. So that was 3 days, and then we did one day of like pickup shots, which was just to fill in some gaps between those three very different scenes and to tie them all together into the story. So yeah, I feel like that's a great video, and that took 3.5 days.
yeah, it's an awesome video. Everybody go check it out. That's Sweet Thing.
Sweet thing for internal state.
How long do you think
But
you'll be in New York for? You gonna stay for a while or?
yeah, I want to stay. I want to stay here for a while. We'll see. I believe the album's going to be out in the summer. A lot of these songs have been kicking around for several years, so I'm going to be honing those, and got to record and mix them, and play some things like that. But yeah, I like the music community around here. Like the acoustic artists I've met around town at shows and clubs, and sometimes in the subway. And we'll be putting it out.
Let's do the resources section real quick. What these are is we're trying to give the guest or I to give you guys, the listeners, something to take away with from the show. If not just a discussion, but also something to maybe go read or something to use as inspiration for yourself or a tool.
This is a great section. I'm glad you included this. So what got me to pick up the guitar is what used to be called the Experience Music Project in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
It's now called the Museum of Pop Culture, and this is it's a nonprofit museum dedicated to contemporary pop culture that was made by Paul Allen, one of the co-founders of Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was there, when I was 14, I did this tutorial of a Nirvana song, and they had a guitar there for you to learn it.
What?
And I found out it was so much easier than I thought. So I figured, why not? So that's what got me to play guitar. So Museum of Pop Culture. In my, in my kind of journey with music and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I did a bluegrass band. I was in a metal band, indie rock band, acoustic. I did classical in college. So many different genres. Sometimes it's a blessing and a curse to be able to play so many different styles of music. I enjoy so much, but it's also I don't always know, what direction I want to go to.
Yeah, I bet.
I read this book called Strengths Finder 2.0, which is a book by Tom Rath. And although it's not particularly about music, it did kind of get me on the track of thinking, following my strengths and what I'm good at. That's something that people need to come to terms with, or at least be aware of what exactly their best qualities are with their art, and what people might enjoy the most and what they enjoy the most, and to go that route. So that was kind of an eye-opening book for me.
Oh, it sounds like a great book because, we're just entered our 30s, but, when you're in your 20s, for me particularly, you just kind of meander with, I want to do this, no, I want to do this, no, I want to do this, and you're not paying attention to what, or at least I wasn't, what you're naturally good at. And if you can hone in on that and you can use that to your advantage, it's going to pay dividends down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you were saying, you were in college and figuring things out, and you decided that you were really good at computers and you're really into it, right?
Yeah, you follow your peers a lot, especially at that age. You're still in your late teens, early 20s, and man, everybody else was in business administration, so it's like, I guess I'm gonna major in business administration. It's like, why? I think I took half a year off, or maybe it wasn't quite a full year, but I took a semester off. I just worked full time, and everybody else was still in class, and that helped a lot. And then that helped me really get back on track with, like, all right, how are we gonna graduate? Let's just figure out how to graduate, and then because I liked the production manufacturing that I was learning, so I thought that that's what I wanted to go into. So it was more of just let's graduate, and found I think it was I think it was the English department, or communications. I can't remember. I think it was even in the same building, but it was digital media or digital technology and culture. And so I got exposed to a lot of different computer programs, and I wish that there was a little bit more of aptitude testing, at high school level and stuff, because it was clear, we had some cool computer courses at Seaholm. We had applied physics, and that was like, we were using Rhino, which was, you can design yachts using that software, and
Oh wow.
yeah, 3D modeling. And then I never did the AutoCAD stuff, but 3D modeling was sweet, and we were doing that in senior year in high school. So it's kind of like, if I did 4 years of that in college, I'd probably be doing something different. But
Yeah, so I was like you, in my mid-20s trying to figure it out, and take whether it's a new job or a new book or something that's transformative. It's something that can be a resource to figure out what the next step should be. Was really valuable, and for me, it was this book, StrengthsFinder 2.0.
yeah, Tom Rath, right? It looks like we're hitting time, dude. I cannot thank you enough, not only for just the time right now recording this episode, but answering my questions, helping me kind of troubleshoot or come up with solutions to getting this thing produced. So Danny, thank you so much.
Of course, Corbin. Yeah, appreciate it so much. You invited me to be a part of the first one. I feel honored, really. I'm sure this is going to take off and be, this will be the first one of many. You can check out my music at Internal State. You check us out on Bandcamp, is where you can stream the audio. You can check out the videos on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. And if you're looking to work with me as an engineer, you can check out my website, Moffat Sound, MOFFAT sound.com.
Cool. And at Moffat Sound on Instagram, because that's where I'm primarily doing my marketing. So I want to tag you there.
Yeah. On the gram. There we go. Yep. Instagram, Moffat Sound, and I'll be posting my music and audio stuff there as well.
I want to thank everybody who has helped me get this first episode off. Danny, you again, bud. Appreciate you, and anybody else who's helped me. You know who you are. A lot of troubleshooting, a lot of questions, a lot of opinions I needed. So everybody, thank you so much.